What's up, Joe?
What's up, fellas? How you guys doing?
We're great.
I'm not great.
He's fine. He just got
Fine.
Twizzlers. He's
Yeah,
fine.
thanks for the
It's
Twizzlers.
fine.
But it does seem to be that continuity is a thing that the Bulls brass really likes about itself. And I feel like, Joe, that they have completely fallen in love with their plan and their players, and nothing's going to move them off of it.
No, and I think they have fallen in love with what was created in Denver, Arturas's last stomping grounds, and that program built on continuity and giving guys time. And once they've kind of established themselves, adding a couple pieces on Aaron Gordon and some young draft picks that emerged. So, but the problem is they don't have a league MVP here, and the problem is, they have guys that have shown that they don't complement each other as much as they did 2 years ago. They actually get in each other's way. The other problem is their point guard is just off of crutches, out all of next season, and the feeling is who probably will never play in the NBA again. So it's just a bad comparison. It's a bad model to use. I get it. That's what you're familiar with. That's what you came from. That's what you built. That's what's on your resume. But if you're going to try selling the Reinsdorfs to go ahead and cross that luxury tax territory based on a 14-9 second half record, it's a tough sell. And I'll be surprised. I'll be surprised a bit to see if they actually do let them cross into that territory. But we'll see. I mean, Arturas, he made this mess and he's got to fix it. And that's the message from ownership.
Are you on a boat?
No, I am actually in the foxhole. No, it's a I'm in a boat. No, it's a bed that is coming down that is eventually going to be my office.
Okay.
But it obviously is not down yet.
All right, it just looks like one of the camera shots on Wicked Tuna.
I am in a submarine. Is that good? I think that's good, right?
Nope, it's not good.
He built it himself. He doesn't need
it myself.
Yep.
I got my PS5 controller to operate it. All is well.
How can the Bulls get themselves some help at the point guard position?
Well, I mean, they need Kobe White to make that big jump. I don't think Patrick Beverley's in the plans, not at his $13 million. I think that the key is going to be Kobe White and what they saw from him the second half of the season, especially in the decision-making department, which, the stats don't really show kind of what the eye test did. I thought he made some big strides in two ways. I thought he was more controlled with his dribble and his strength with the dribble, and then obviously his decision-making. So I think he's going to be 1A. They obviously are going to keep checking on and see where Io is. He took a step back. I think the rest of the league kind of figured him out, and now he has to play chess and go ahead and figure out his next move to counter their move. But yeah, I think it's going to be in-house unless there's something unforeseen. Dalen Terry to me is going to get a lot of work this summer. There's going to be a lot of hype, a lot of workout videos. Look what he did in Summer League. Yes, he is a pretty good playmaker for his height, but he has a lot to prove for me to say, okay, Dalen Terry could be a guy that when they drafted him guard/forward, I'm going to go ahead and hand him the ball and hand him the offense. So I think Kobe White's the lead dog in all of this.
So let's look at the rest of the roster here. If Derrick Jones Jr. is going to go to greener pastures, then maybe that explains this draft pick, and you get some sort of inexpensive replacement at 75 cents on the dollar as far as ability goes. But if Andre Drummond doesn't come back, is there rim protection somewhere that they've needed? We're going into the third year of need here, an actual defensive-minded rim roller, screen setter, lob guy who they can get at a reasonable price.
Well, I mean, I think I keep an eye on Mo Bamba. I mean, this is a guy that's wanted to come to the Bulls for the last couple of years. I don't know if it was something that just was ingrained in him growing up, that's what he saw across the pond, and that's what he fell in love with. But this is a guy that wants to be a Bull. So keep an eye on him. Again, I don't know if they are firmly built in this idea that we have to have rim protection if we are as disruptive on the wings and in the backcourt as we feel we can be. Obviously before Lonzo Ball went
Right, but
down,
that was a Lonzo strategy of being
it,
super aggressive in the high screen roll and the wing screen roll. The problem is where the help
right, and Caruso.
Where the help comes from now. The way their defense is structured, because they don't have anything backstopping there, they are allowing too many of those corner threes. They allow the guy to race down there. They whip that pass to the corner, and they lose games because of it.
Yeah, and the backside help defense has been terrible because there's no rim protection there with Patrick Williams. So if your backside breaks down when Vooch is out, whether it's he's playing a drop out of a screen and roll, although according to them they don't play drop, but whatever he's doing on that strong side, the backside problems were just as big an issue, and that falls on Patrick Williams. So yeah, I mean, you rim protectors don't fall just right into your lap. You either have to cultivate one or one has to come and play for you. And if the finances are the finances that we are being told, yes, they will cross into the tax luxury. That's different then. Then you can go out and actually try and buy one. But I don't see one on the horizon. I just think they feel like, let's just do our defense this way and be disruptive in the backcourt and then just hope for, and another thing too, they are stuck on this idea that where they finish defensively, Vooch has to be a good defensive player because they were a top 10 defensive rated team. So that seems to be an idea they're stuck on, which I get it. He's part of that group, but that doesn't mean there's not a weakness that could be exposed by teams, especially teams that you don't match up well against in that area.
What are the chances that Vooch picks another team?
I think small right now. I think his family is really pushing to Chicago. I think he's a guy that feels like his father did, can play into his early 40s. So this idea of ring chasing, look, he wants to win a championship. I've had discussions with him about this. It's not as pressing for Euro players because it's not as big a deal. They've accomplished some big things overseas, whether it's international ball, stuff like that is very important to them. The NBA chip is a bigger deal for American players, and we all know the reputation, Barkley, guys like that haven't won it. I think at some point he'll want to try and chase a chip if he doesn't get it with the Bulls. But I think right now the push from his family is, hey, let's try this 3 more years. We like the organization. We like the city. We like the guys you're playing with. We'd like to see a bigger offensive role, especially when things get mismatched and guys can't recognize it for some reason. But I think that I would be surprised if he's elsewhere.
Do they have to give him 3 years?
I mean, right now it's 3 years total, but I think that's the debate. Is it 2 years our option, 2 years your option? So I think that's kind of where they're at with this is how is this going to end? We know what this year and next year are going to look like, but when that new CBA comes on, are we prepared for that CBA and that second apron and that first apron? You already see teams doing their due diligence on it. I mean, Golden State's kind of getting poked around for some of the moves they made. How do you bring in a 55-year-old CP3 and let a guy like Jordan Poole go besides the punch and all that other stuff? Well, CP3's contract comes off next year for a high tax team. And I think that's the unknown in the NBA is exactly what is this going to look like and how do you build your team under this new CBA? And I think there's teams that are smart and are preparing for it. And then there's teams that might not be preparing for it. So I'm anxious to see. I think it's going to be 2 with an option. I just want to see whose option it's going to be.
Okay. I like the 2-man game with Vooch and with Zach. Okay. But there's another man on the floor, unfortunately. And I know that you're good at drawing things up. In a perfect world where they don't make any significant moves, is there any way to make an offense work with DeMar, Zach, and Vooch?
I think there is if egos weren't involved. But now egos have gotten involved. Year 1, egos weren't involved. It was, you're the Jedi Master. I'm learning from you. I'm not going to worry about your shot, my shot. We're not playing that game. We're playing You're the vet. You're the scorer. You're the master of the mid range. You go ahead and do. Last year, it was a bumping of heads because all of a sudden, look at my tax bracket. Yeah, my knee's sore, but now my knee's better. Now it's my turn. Now I want to finish games. And Zach was getting pissed with the way games were ending last year. Forget the Orlando one. That was still early in the year when he got yanked. The knee was not where it was supposed to be. I get that one. He probably held on to it longer than anyone else. But I definitely think as the year went on, you saw those instances where he hinted by saying, we can't just be running the same plays at the end of games. Teams know them. They're figuring them out. To me, that was him screaming, we can't just let DeMar be the hero and play hero ball. It's my turn to play hero ball. If they could figure that out, and then also when Zach is playmaking and they get that switch, his mentality can't be, I got a big on me, I'm going to kill this big man. It has to be, okay, if I got a big on me, who does Vuce have? Vuce has a guard on him? Oh, I got a mismatch. Vuce is going to put that kid on his hip and take him to the child care center. And for some reason, Zach doesn't always see that. His mentality is, I got the mismatch because I got a big on me.
He's not trying to see it. He's not trying to. It's not even seeing it as much as intuiting it.
When you go to Clutch Sports and you are told how great you are, I thought it was funny. I wrote this the other day. Zach used to be about the business of basketball, and I thought Zach became more of a businessman. And that's a Clutch thing. That's the mentality they give you. And it was funny at the trade deadline, Ian Bagley reported it, and I reported it, that the Knicks and Bulls were talking about him. And his response was, well, Rich Paul didn't get back to me, so I know nothing is imminent. Well, it's like, when do teams have to run stuff through Clutch Sports if they're going to make a move? That's not always how it works. And so I just thought it was funny that his mentality was, this agency I'm a part of is so powerful, we make the decisions. And there's a guy in that agency that does make the decisions, but he's LeBron James. It's not Zach LaVine. So I think if they can figure out Zach understanding what's best for the team is not always going to be best for Zach. And I'm not saying he's a selfish player. I'm saying his mentality changed from 2 years ago, 3-4 years ago, to when you become that max guy. And he could deny it all he wants, but the eye test shows differently and the numbers show differently.
Is there a free agent that could fit into the Bulls' salary structure that you've got your eye on?
The other Curry brother would be nice. You got a guy that can come off your bench and just run. Here's the problem I have with the Bulls offense, especially after watching Miami and the way they use their three-point shooters. This standing in the corner.
Yep.
And maybe that's all Caruso could do. Maybe that's the only shot he could do. Maybe he can't run a guy off, catch and shoot the three and cause the defense to break down. So there is a guy standing in the corner with all the movement. It's just a stagnant three-point attack. And that's on Billy. Billy's got to figure out something to get. I'd like to see Zach in more action and more running around where there's dribble handoffs and you have to chase him. And then what does that lead to in that chase? Does that lead to him attacking the rim, or can he pull up on you because you can't chase him quick enough? And so I would like to see more of that. When you watch Miami, just watch how they run Strus and Vincent. They just run them around and around. And in the middle, you got Jimmy just playing, am I attacking you and drawing fouls, or am I going to be facilitator? And so I would like to see him do more of that, but maybe that's the strength of their three-point shooters, that Caruso can only be a corner three. And DeMar needs to start being more of a corner three. So, but yeah, I think Curry would be a good fit, and I'd like to see the price tag on him. And then, if they don't have these constraints, then I think you're looking at sign and trades, and I'd be interested. I'm interested to see what happens to all those Miami guys. They got a lot of shooters that all of a sudden deserve to be paid, and I'm anxious to see who stays, who goes. I mean, to me, that's a team to keep an eye on.
Do you like Yuta Watanabe?
Yeah. But how's that happening?
Mid-level?
Okay. But how have they used the mid-level lately?
Bad. I mean,
so
I'm just putting names out there. It's just another guy who gives them catch and shoot and gives them high energy
and some length.
Some length and plays really hard.
Yeah, and again, we're going to be fed the same stuff of Zach's really working on his weakness. We hired a new shooting coach.
Oh God.
We've got these guys that are, and the thing that's scary, they really feel like Galen Terry can take a big jump, and maybe he could.
He's gonna
Maybe
have
there is a
to.
big jump.
Joe, you saw him pregame working out against the assistant coaches. I saw it too. I'm not sure I'm looking at an NBA player.
I saw him play here.
No.
I saw him play full games for Windy City, and I see a lot of traits. I don't know if I see a basketball player yet.
I talked to Billy Donovan about Dalen Terry's shot, and I said it's almost like Joakim's until it gets to this point where Joakim would totally spin it and turn it into a frisbee, but it has that kind of the guide hand comes off the side, and so I talked to Billy about it, and I'm like, do you need to fix that? And he said, I mean, it's definitely something we're going to look at this offseason and trying to repair. He goes, surprisingly, though, he actually does, as funky as it is, it actually does go straight at the hoop. It doesn't do that Joakim spin. But the distance, the short, long, short, a lot of them are long. And so the inconsistency. So I'm anxious to see what they do with his shot. And then Julian Phillips is another guy. I will say this, and this comes from the Bible of Tom Thibodeau. Tibbs always thought if you're a good free throw shooter, no matter what your numbers were in college from 3-point range, you can be turned into a good 3-point shooter.